All right, so the very first thing I want to do is just see where I am. I'm logged in as Ubuntu, and if I type in pwd, it's going to show me where I am. It tells me that I'm in a folder. So I'm in root, I'm in a folder called home, and I'm in a folder called Ubuntu. Okay. I guess what I should do first is add my first user, right? So if I add a user, sudo add user, let's just call it Brian. Okay. Once I have my user, just give them a good password, easy, go all the way through, and I have my user. Okay. If I clear it and I still do a pwd, I'm still in home Ubuntu. Okay. So no matter what, I'm in the wrong folder. So if I make something here, so if I just say touch file 1, now if I ls, there's the file, it's in the wrong folder. Okay, so it's still in home Ubuntu. So I need to get out of home Ubuntu. I need to go to where the folder, the files where I need to make everything, right? So I'm going to go to root. Now, if I do cd/root, it's going to take me to the highest level, like the top of the mountain of all the files and folders. Okay. And from here, I can look, and these are all the different files and folders that you can see. Okay. So these are in them. Let me adjust this down a little bit so we can see it. Let's see here. Put that like that, and bring that in a little bit more. Good. All right. Very good. All right. So if I want to say make a folder here, let's make a folder here called fish. So I can do an ls. There is no folder here called fish. So sudo mkdir fish. All right. Now if I do an ls, you'll see here's my folder called fish. All right. Now, if I want to get inside fish, I can just change directory into fish. Okay. And if I look inside fish, there's nothing there. Okay. So let's make another folder here called trout. So sudo mkdir trout. All right. I know we're in Georgia. We probably should make another one called bass. All right. Now, if I look, I have two folders, bass and trout. Okay. So I can go into one of those folders, bass. All right. And look inside there, there's nothing in there. Okay. So now let's put another folder and another file in there. So we'll just say, make a new folder, sudo mkdir, let's make folder, and we'll call it largemouth. All right. And we'll do another one, sudo, we'll do a file this time, touch, and let's just call it spotted. I'm not sure if there's a thing called a spotted bass, but if I look inside bass now, by doing an ls, it's like list, I see there's my largemouth folder, and my spotted file. So let's go ahead and look at that in more detail. So in more detail, the first part here, this little D on the very, very front, that tells us it's a directory or a folder. The dash tells us it's a file. Then these are the different permissions. So read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute. So the first three, read, write, execute, are for the owner. The next three, read, write, execute, are for the group, and the last three is for everybody else. Okay. So if I want to say change the ownership of root to Brian, okay, of the largemouth and the spotted to Brian, let's clear this out, and I'm going to change the owner. Sudo chown Brian and largemouth, and I can also do it for spotted at the same time. Okay, so if I go ls-l now, both of them are Brian. This is the owner. The group is this one here. Let's change the group. Sudo, actually, let's make the group hook, right? So sudo add user hook. All right, and give them a good password and go all the way through it. All right, now let's do a look again. I want to make this a hook. Okay, so sudo change group hook and largemouth and spotted. Okay, ls-l, and you'll know now it says Brian and hook. I've changed those. Okay, now you could tell Ubuntu here is who I'm currently logged in as. If I want to log in as Brian, I can do that. So, well, actually, let's change the permissions. I want to make largemouth read, write, execute all the way across the board. So I'm going to go sudo chmod to change that. And we'll go 777 and largemouth. And we can also do that for spotted too. So now if we do ls-l, they both are. Let's clear it out so we can see a little bit better. ls-l, and now they're sevens all the way across. 777 all the way across. Okay, and there's a lot of videos out there on how to set those permissions using chmod. Okay, but for now, know that the first 7 is this is the 4 spot, the 2 spot, the 1 spot. Add those 3 together, that means they're all turned on. That's a 7. The next 3, 4 spot, 2 spot, 1 spot. Add those 3 together. That's a 7. So 777. Okay. If I go 770, so sudo chmod 770 largemouth and spotted. What's going to happen is it's going to set all of these first 6 here to 777, and then these last 3 will just be the 0 part, which is going to be dash dash dash. So let me hit enter and do an ls-l, and notice that it's the 0 just went down to here. Okay, so that's kind of how you do that. Now, if I switch user into Brian and type in his password, the very first thing I'm going to see, that was interesting. Let's switch user into Brian. Okay, so I'm in Brian. I'm going to clear it out. Okay, I'm logged in as Brian, but notice I was working while I was in Ubuntu. I was working in Fish and Bass. So the first thing I do, if I just do a CD, that means go to my home directory. Not if I don't put anything past it, go to my home directory, and I hit enter. Clear it out. Now if I do a pwd, it's going to say you're in home Brian because we never changed their home directory. Okay, so Brian's home directory is by default home Brian. Okay, so we need to change that to Fish and Bass. Okay, so I can't do anything as Brian. So if I try to sudo right now, I'm not. If I try to change something right now, it's going to say you're not a sudo and bad things happen. So I'm going to click exit. I'm getting back to Ubuntu, and now I want a sudo vim etc passwd. Now let me explain this. Sudo superuser do once. Vim is just like opening Notepad. etc is a folder inside root, and inside that folder is a file called passwd where all the users are. So if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, this is just Notepad. I'm looking for Brian, and notice over here in the green is home and Brian, and it should be Fish and Bass. So I go to insert mode, which you can't see. Let me adjust that. Made it too big. All right, bring that down. Put that right about there. All right, there we go. All right, so I'm in insert mode. I typed I to get into insert mode. Insert mode basically means edit. All right, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to change this to Fish and Bass. Just like that. I'm going to hit escape to get out of insert mode. Okay, and I'm going to write, so colon, write, quit, WQ. Notice it down here, it changes. If I type in colon, it shows up here. WQ is write, quit. I get out of that. Now if I switch user back to Brian, okay, and I go type in his password, and now I go, if I say CD, it's going to take me to Brian's home, and if I do a pwd, it's going to say Fish and Bass. If I do an ls-l, the files that I created in Fish and Bass, largemouth and spotted, are going to be right there, okay? So the very first thing that you have to make sure you do is say, where is this user? So clear this out. Go to the home directory. What is their current home directory? Make sure it's Fish and Bass. And then inside Fish and Bass, make sure you have the right files. When you have the right files, make sure the owners are right, the group is right, and that the permissions are right. That's all you have to do.